So I have to go to the assignments and submit it before the due date. I posted it into the Google Classroom. So this is a model 3. The topic is system model. So let all the people join. So here is a model 3. We have 2 chapters in this. That is a system model from the section 5.1 from the book and section 7.1. So first let us start with the system model. Here we do study what is context model, interaction model and structural model. In fact, as I said, these models were the continuation of this unified modeling language you studied it in the module 2. But the proceedings is from the concepts of software engineering. So this book was completely reliable on object-oriented modeling and design from Romberg, right? So this was the book that we referred, Michael Bland, James Romberg, for specifically for module 2. It is only to understand the concept of class diagram. In fact, we are not stressed with the state diagram or the interaction diagram. But for the sake of interaction diagram and the state diagram, we need to show to the concepts of software engineering from module 3. So that is called a system model and design and implementation. So there is a much more relationship between the module 2 and module 3, but presentation of module 2 and module 3 is quite different when you see the book. Fine. So, but for our sake, we need to refer the Somerville only for this system model, this context model, interaction models, and for this we have to specifically refer the Romberg only. Fine. And I have given the assignments, the 5 questions, in which 3 questions are purely from this concepts. So you need to write those and submit it within the before the due date. Fine. So let me go to the module 3, that is a system model will start. As I said, there are 2 chapters. One is system model, chapter number 5. Another is a chapter number 7. So we'll go with the chapter number 5, that is from system model. Okay. So these are the topics that we are going to construct model, interaction model, structure model, behavioral model, and model driven engineering. So in which we are not stressing more on this 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5 topics altogether. So in fact, these topics are too vast. We are going to take into the consideration only the major part of it, diagrammatical representation. What is context model? Where do we use a context model? Similarly, what is interaction model? And where do we use interaction? Similarly, structural, behavioral, and model driven engineering. What is the meaning of model driven engineering? So coming to the concept of context model, what is system modeling? So before we go to the context model, all these things are models. So what is system modeling? So theoretically defining, it is the process of development abstract models of a system, with each model representing a different view of perspective of the system. This is a theoretically definition. So what is a model? You know, what is the, I stressed in the module 2, what is a model and why do we need a modeling, and how do you convert it into object oriented model, right? So the system modeling has now become a mean of representing a system using some kind of use graphical notations. If I ask you what could be the graphical notations, these are all called unified modeling language, right? So this model helps in what? So the same repetitive things. System modeling helps the analyst. Who is an analyst? Who is an analyst? The Analyst is a person who gathers the requirement or scrutinizes the requirement, analyze the requirement based on the customers give the requirement what has to be developed. These requirements are being scrutinized by the analyst. So system modeling definitely helps in the analyst to understand the functionality of the system, how does the system works based on it, and models are used to communicate with the customers. So definitely models helps us to communicate with the customers. I hope all of you have followed these theoretical concepts, because the same concept we have stressed in the module 2, right? So as I said, this is a quite continuation of the same concepts of the module 2, existing and planned system models. What is existing and what is a planned, right? So here you could see models of the new system is the plan, and existing models of the are used during the requirement engineering. They help clarify what the existing system does and can be used as a basics for discussing strengths and weaknesses. And you know, whenever you have an existing model that is being running, so you can be aware of what are the drawbacks of it and what are the benefits of it, right? From this you can develop a new requirement, then the lead to the new requirement for the new system. So the models of the new systems are used during the requirement engine to help explain the proposed, that is what you are going to develop. It is called a proposed requirement to the other systems or the stakeholders. And usually the technical people are the engineers here. They use these models to discuss design proposals. So in fact, in the model driven engineering process, it is possible to generate a complete or partial system implementation from the system model. So again, it is a quite theory. Let me go to the concept of context model. So before that, all these concepts are what is a model, what is a model driven engineering process, right? So what are the concepts of existing system and the proposed systems? So existing system is already running system, and what is a proposed system means the requirement that you're going to modify it based on the new requirement. Okay. Again, we need to study these requirement engineering with respect to system perspective. What is external perspective? See, what is perspective? Basically, the perception. It is a perception with which the customers views, okay, or a perception with which a technician or an engineer views the system. So there are many perspectives. One is an external perspective. So what is an external perspective? Where you model the context. What is context? See, this is what our model is, or environment of the system. What is interaction perspective? Where you model the interaction between the system. That is, we have, when we say system, you think of an object and the class. There is always being an interaction between the class or the objects. You have seen in the class modeling how you have studied class to class relationship with a association, or how do you understood the object to object interaction with a link. So all these things are taken into the consideration in the case of interactive perspective. And what is structural perspective? In the case of structural perspective, you model the organization of a system, right? It is a structural perspective. Total organization of a system you focus on, or structure of the data that is processed by the system. In the case of behavior perspective, it is all about the dynamic behavior of the system. So when you understand this concept, when you go with an example, maybe few people feel it totally theoretically, what is external perspective, interaction, structural, behavior. So behavior means, simply if I say the word behavior, the question arises, what is the sort of a behavior of a system? So that could be studied only with respect to an example. So we have 3 test cases that we have studied in module 1. I remember one is the insulin pump, is it or not? So similarly, we have 2 more test cases that you have studied. So with respect to that, so you could study it all this perspective. What is in external interaction, structural and behavior. Fine. So UML diagrams, again, what is UML diagrams? Why do we need a UML diagrams? Unified modeling language diagrams consist of activity diagrams, use case diagrams, sequence diagrams, class diagrams, state diagrams. All these things you know it. So I don't have to explain what is class diagram, state diagrams. As I said, how do you, we have not studied complete state. it represents the state of a class, right? State of a class. This we will stress it when we come to the concept, whereas this class diagram we have studied very specifically, and we will see what is use case diagram. So use case diagram which shows the interaction between a system and its environment. We'll see what is use case. So use case has a actors and the use case. Usually the use case diagram consists of actors and the users. Let us see that also, right? Activity diagrams which shows the activities involved in a process or in the data processing. Fine. So these are all the technical terminology when you studied UML diagram types. That is, if you represent a system by using unified modeling language, so we have a different diagrams in which different classifications. So these classifications could be written based on the different features. The features could be, if I say specifically, few features have to be represented using UML diagram, then sometime activity diagram might work. Similarly, in the case of if I ask you identify the use case, then use case diagrams you have to work out, right? If it is a sequence, so that is you are purely based on the interactions between the actors and the system, then we go for a sequence diagram. No, I'm not interested in the interactions or the operations or any sort of a behaviors. If I ask you just the relationship between the two classes or the two objects, we do go with the class diagrams. It shows the object classes in the system and the association between these class. Association is the direct relationship between the two classes. Clear? So what is state? State diagram represents the state of a system. For example, if I say a person, a simple with these attributes and with its operations, what could be the state? The state of a person could be idle, moving, or something like that, right? So when we discuss the state of a system, we use a state diagram. How the system reacts to the internal and external events. We have a word called events. Based on the events, we do represent the state diagram. Clear? So let me proceed further. Why do we use graphical models? So graphical models helps in facilitating discussion about an existing or the proposed systems. Let me go fast. So I just want to cover up context model at the earliest, because these are all theory part that you can go with, but wherever you need stress on the few of the part of the system, I will stress on that. As a way of documenting, UML diagrams definitely helps in documenting an existing system. It also helps in detailed system description that can be used to generate a system implementation. So coming direct to the first topic, that is a context model. Why do we use a context model? Okay, here is a concept. Maybe we'll try to cover context model and interaction model. Okay, simple definition. We use a context model to illustrate the operational context of a system. They show what lies outside the system boundaries. Social and organizational concerns may affect the decisions where the position system, what are the boundaries. Architectural model shows the system and its relationship with other systems. Let me show you the diagram, or else you may not understand what is context of the MHC PMS system, right? Mental health care management system of a patients, right? This is one of the case diagram that you have studied, all of you, right? This is the case diagram that you have studied in the module 1, right? Along with the insulin pump. This is not the insulin pump case diagram. This is a case diagram related to the MHC PMS system, right? Here, each and individual identity or entity, I would say entity, is identified as a system. So why I showed you this diagram, because again, when I show this theory, you have a lot many doubts. Why do we use a context model? Some sort of boundaries, I say. Social and organizational concerns may affect the decisions, right? So similarly, architectural models show the system and its relationship with other systems. So what are the boundaries? System boundaries. He says always system. So what is that particular system? We need to identify. System boundaries are established to define what is inside and what is outside the system. The position of the system boundary has a profound effect on the system requirement. Defining a system boundary is a political judgment. So here is the context of MSc PMS system. Okay, when you identify as a system, patient record system, I represent this as one of the boundary. Patient record is one of the boundary, right? Understand? Similarly, whole together, the whole system is called MSc PMS system. This is a complete system which withholds all these systems internally. In the sense, to maintain the patient record system, this is one of the system. In order to that is to administrate, that is new patient has come, we have to make an admission. So admission system is one of the system, right? Similarly, management reporting system is one of the system, belongs to MSc PMS. Similarly, so this part is over. The first three part what I mentioned, that is admission system, recording the patient record, and also management requirement system. Coming downside this, so you the prescription, so you need to maintain the prescription, so prescription of all the patients. So first let me clarify, all are aware of what does the MSc PMS system does. So with respect to that only we could study these context models, or else you cannot understand this. So hopefully all of you have gone through these case studies of 3 case studies in the module 1, because throughout the module 5, wherever we have few of the models to be studied, we do study only with respect to the what? These test cases. I've told this thing, right? So prescription system. This prescription system is also a part of a system, MSc PMS. Appointment system. So altogether a part of, so I could divide these as a boundaries, right? Whole as a system. You could see 6 totally different systems over here, right? So the continuation of it, what is process perspective? Context models simply show the other systems in the environment, how the system is being developed, is used in that environment. Process models reveals how the system being developed is used broader business process. So UML activity diagrams may be used to define, so we have not come to the activity diagrams, may be used to define business process models. So we have to go through the process models also. So this represents certain sort of activity diagram, all of you, for MSc PMS system only. This is called system modeling. Before I go to the interaction modeling, all of you, before I go to the interaction modeling, so try to understand this model, process model of, why do you use a process model? It comes under context model only. See, process perspective. Context models simply show the other systems in the environment, but it doesn't show how the system is being developed that is used in that particular environment. The process models usually reveals how the system is being developed, is used in broader business. So how the system is developed, for that we use our process models by using UML notations only. So for which, what do we use? UML activity diagrams. So what is UML activity diagram? So that is being used to define the business process models. That is being shown in the diagram. Next slide. Okay. So you could see we have activity models, Activity diagrams, I would say activity diagrams rather than a model. Active diagrams, that is a part of unified modeling language. It is used to define business process models. Fine. So you could see here. So altogether, this is a activity diagram process model for of involuntary detention. Okay. So that is based on MSC PMS system only. Again, so what is the system here? MSC PMS. All right. So where could the decisions are being made? This bar. This is a dark bar vertically being placed. Here the decisions are made. Here the decisions are made. So I don't want you people to stress on the complete part of the diagram. Just want to understand. See, this is all these things are being developed by the architects. So I don't say that it should be as it is intact. Thing is that it depends upon the requirement specifications or the thing of perception from a requirement. Okay. So any sort of see, what is this? I mentioned you, this is a source. What is this? This is a target. I say double I is represented as a target. So in this diagram, if I ask you, where will the system start? System will start from the detention decisions. This is a source. From here, the decision starts. Confirm detention decision. Yes, there are two types of decisions being made at this point. This darkened bar. Inform patients of right. Next, record detention decisions. Right. Again, from here, we have two decisions to be made. Branching of it. It is called an activity model to find a secure place. Again, transfer to the police station, transfer to the secure hospital. See, this is one of the part of the systems that could be analyzed using a process model of involuntary systems. So today, as of now, you just focus on the diagram, not on the content of it. So I'll explain elaborately. So how it is being related when I study with this activity model. When I go with this structural models and behavioral models, I'll stress on this because we just studied today what is context and how do you represent a system with the point of context system. Okay. So still more, we have interaction diagram also. So I'll just brief up here what is an interaction. You could see, because we have not covered up these cases. Until and unless you don't understand, we cannot go to that diagram directly. But ultimately, what I suggest is at least you understand what is being happening. So this is the start and this is the end. And these are all the various decisions being made at the individual interval. Inform social care, inform next of kin, update register. From here, the various process being transferred to this decision bar. So I would say this is a decision bar. This is a decision bar. Here we have a pending decisions to be made, right? So today, for the time sake, as of now, you can just focus, and we'll try to cover up this model before the second IA. So I request all of you to give the attendance on the chat session.